On air yet? All right. So, hi everyone. Welcome to the National Assembly of Malaysian Students in America's Career Webinar series featuring Malaysians on OPT. So, the purpose of this series is to connect current students with Malaysian fresh graduates who are pursuing their optional practical training or OPT in their specific fields ranging from liberal arts all the way to engineering. This webinar series hopes to enlighten Malaysians by helping them gain more valuable knowledge on pursuing a career here in the United States, as well as knowledge on the OPT itself. I am Nur Zafira binti Azmi, a junior at the Purdue University, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's webinar. Before we begin, allow me to introduce our speaker, Aisyah Ilani Muhammad Zin, or in short, Ilani Zin, who is currently pursuing her OPT in the US, working with Deloitte, Pennsylvania. Ilani Zin earned her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with majors in Finance and Business Analytics in 2017. In 2015, Ilani was the founding member and the Vice President of the U.S. East Coast Presidential Council, or as known as the U.S. EPIC now, and she was also the Vice President of Drexel Malaysian Student Association in her university. She is currently doing her OPT as a technology risk consultant at Deloitte Risk and Financial Advisory. She chose to work with Deloitte because Deloitte is a great company that values innovation, excellent service, learning development, and diversity. I will let Ilani talk more about the company in a bit. Anyways, we are honored to have Ilani with us tonight. So throughout the webinar, I'll be asking our speaker a set of questions, but anyone can feel free to comment any question you have in the live chat box on the right. And remember to include your name and your university as well. So now, some of our audience may or may not have heard about Deloitte. So let's begin with an overview of the company. And what better way to hear about it than from our Malaysian alumni who is working there right now. So Ilani, what can you give us like a general overview about Deloitte and your OPT experience?
Hi, yeah. First of all, thank you so much, NAMSA and Zafira, for having me tonight. It's truly an honor, and I really hope our session tonight will benefit everyone who's tuning in. So a little bit about Deloitte. We are basically a professional services firm. We offer services like audit, tax, and consulting and advisory organizations and companies in the United States and also all over the world. We operate in over 120 countries. And yeah, I work specifically in Deloitte advisory practice, and we focus on risk and financial advisory services.
All right. So I'm a business major too, and I believe that every business major students know Deloitte is a very well-known company, and I think it is very fortunate for you to be working with them. It is a very great experience. So can you tell us what are your primary responsibilities and everyday tasks as a technology risk consultant at Deloitte?
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I honestly, the opportunity came up without, like it was unexpected. And I'm really, every day I'm grateful to be working at a company like Deloitte. So some of the primary responsibilities that I have, my role as a technology risk consultant at Deloitte is to help my clients address their financial and regulatory risks. So I'm considered as an IT specialist, and I work closely with the Deloitte financial audit team to assess our clients' financial statements. As you may know, like public companies in the US, they are required to issue financial statements for their stakeholders annually and quarterly. I think most business students who have taken accounting or finance would know they call it as the 10K. So all the financial transactions that go onto the financial statements reported by these public companies are supported by IT systems and applications. So my job specifically is to test and audit those general IT controls for the underlying IT systems and applications that support critical financial transactions for my clients. Yeah.
So from what you say, is your job is very related to finance and business analytic major that you have taken?
I would say not directly. It's more IT focused because it's like a technology risk consultant role. It's like whatever I learned in school has like I don't directly apply it to the work that I do every day, which is interesting because like they train you on the job when you first start. So it's okay if you don't have any prior background in IT because they will basically teach you from scratch about everything. Yeah.
That is so interesting to know that, because I honestly, I would be so nervous if I go to an internship without like having my major as my position.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very interesting to know that they will like teach you from scratch, even if you don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I would say actually this is quite typical for most companies and especially big companies, I would say, because even like before when I was in undergrad, I was studying, have never heard of technology risk until I saw that opportunity. And then I went to the interview and I learned more about it, and I also had the same concerns. I was like, well, I don't have any background in IT or anything,
Yeah.
except for maybe a few classes in management information systems, but that was like very, very basic. So a lot of companies here in the US, they understand that, when they hire you, you may not have like that technical knowledge, but if they are a good company, they will invest in training you. And that, I think for me, that's at least how I know that's a good company, because they're willing to invest in you.
Yeah.
So, and like Deloitte, they are huge on learning and development. So, so it is part of their, I guess, their talent model. It's one of their values to make sure that they train their professionals really well.
All right. So
Yeah.
just now, you were talking about the interview session with Deloitte. So
Mhm.
can you tell us how was the process of your job application, like the stages, the interviews, and also like dealing with the legal documents? Because most of the student graduates from the US find it very hard to get a job here in the US.
Yeah, so let me give a little bit more background before I dive in and answer that question.
Sure.
So, I know you've done your research on Drexel, and I think you may have heard about the Drexel Co-op program.
Mm-hmm.
A co-op program is basically like an internship. So almost every student that goes to Drexel, they will enroll in one co-op 4-year program or a 3 co-op and 5-year program. And a co-op is basically an internship, right? So what that means is you, in the span of 4 to 5 years, you do 1 to 3 internships, and you alternate between 6 months of working full time as a co-op slash intern, and then you go back to school and study full time for 6 months for the rest of the year, and you sort of alternate. It's like a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So through that Drexel Co-op program is where I found this opportunity to work at Deloitte, because it was in the Drexel Co-op job system. So my interview and hiring process was basically through that. That's how I found out about the opportunity. So basically, I like applied for the co-op experience, the co-op position, and then I went for an interview. Well, actually before, so basically you submit your resume.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to submit your resume, and then they will, like, through that system, they will like approve or like reject your application. So I got through the next round, and then they made me do like an assessment, where they ask you behavioral questions and case interview questions, of that sort, just to like understand more about your personality and the way that you think, if you would fit like more of the consulting role. And then after you pass that, you go into the interview, like live in-person interview session. And the interview session was actually quite intense. I met with 4 different people back to back, each person 30 minutes. So in total, it was about 2 hours. Was very exhausting. Because that was actually my last set of interview with, like, Deloitte was my last set of interview, and I had like interviews with other companies that I applied for my co-op, basically. So yeah, it was quite intense. And then after that, they would, you know, let you know if you got accepted to the position or not. So that was part of the hiring process. What was the rest of the question? I missed it.
Is this like the application stages? And how do you deal with the legal documents?
Okay. So legal documents. This usually doesn't really come up during your job application process. It usually comes up after you get hired.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Was it hard? I mean, do you have any like like do you find it hard to prepare all the documents that they need?
Yeah, so it was not hard. I think I had a lot of good resources. For example, the International Students and Scholar Services, the ISSS office at my university, they were very helpful. And I also have a lot of international friends who have gone through the same process. So my trick in life is that I feel like if I'm going through something, I'm 100% sure someone else has gone through the same experience. So, you know, like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just, you know, reach out and ask for help. And that's what I always do, is like just reach out and ask for help. So I asked a lot of questions from my friends and my mentors and whatnot. And definitely the ISSS office, they were very, very helpful.
Yeah. So during the interview, do they look for specific technical skills or like specific finance or analytic courses that you have enrolled in during your time in school?
So for me, I don't think so. I didn't think that, because the role that I'm in right now, they understood that I didn't have any experience at that time when they hired me as a co-op. And so I think what they were looking for someone who had a good academic standing. I think it was like a minimum of like 3.5 or 3.6 or something like that. And leadership skills and you know, organization skills, and not necessarily technical skills, because the position that I actually applied for was, you know, like a co-op position originally. And then and I would say, unless you're applying for a super technical role, like if you're in engineering, I think that's very different. You would need that technical skills, right? Or if you're like a software developer, I think those companies that hire those roles, they would look for very technical skills. But I would say, like, most roles in business, they're pretty flexible with it. They understand that if you're a fresh grad, if you're or if you're looking for an internship role, like, it's not really, you know, mandatory for you to have like super technical skills. I mean, I had some programming and like coding skills based on my business analytics course in school, but that was it. I mean, there was nothing much else. And I did have some work experience as a financial analyst.
Where was that?
Oh, that was part of a coursework at my business school. So it was called the Dragon Fund, and you basically spend 3 to 6 months as a financial analyst, and you oversee the endowment, or part of the endowment fund that sits, you know, for the LeBeau School of Business at Drexel University. And I think at that time when I was doing it, it was worth over like $1.5 million or something like that. So yes, I had some technical skills, but at the same time, I don't think that's what they were looking for, because the role was, like, it didn't require any of those technical skills.
But do you find it like very competitive for you as a finance major, like to compare yourself with IT majors, maybe?
Yeah, I would say definitely yes. And the thing about consulting roles is that they love engineering students because engineering students are very analytical. They're obviously very, very smart. So yes, I would say it was a very competitive selection process. But I mean, it's okay. Does it, just because you're studying in one major, does it necessarily, put you off to the side or anything? Companies have like certain lists of criteria that they look at, and I think once, if you get accepted for an interview, like if they look at your resume and then they invite you in for an interview, that means you are actually qualified technically for the job. And once they meet you, it's only because they want to, see you in person and see how you are. How is your personality? How do you, bring yourself? Would you fit the company? Would the company fit you? I think that's usually how it is in an interview process. It's just like, them wanting to get to know you more as a person. Like, you're already qualified for the job if they invite you for an interview.
Yeah, I like it when you say like, because you are qualified for the job, so you don't have to feel like you are not competitive enough or something. Because like I cannot imagine if I go to an interview and like sitting next to a Harvard student maybe, like, but we are both qualified and being called for the interview, so we are same, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's, at least those are my opinion.
Yeah. So like, have you ever encountered any stressful situation while doing your job? And if yes, how did you handle it?
Yes, actually, I encounter stressful situations, I would say, almost at a daily basis. So the work that I do, yeah, we have this period called busy season, and it runs for about 4 to 6 months, from September until March every year. And what happens is, you have multiple clients going on at the same time. Like, there are different projects with different clients going on at the same time. And everything is running parallel. So when you have 4 to 5 clients to attend to, or like projects to attend to, they have like competing priorities, and everything is like urgent, and everyone wants their stuff on the same day. And there are deliverables, and I think this is something that like, one of the lessons that I learned ever since I started working full time is that, this is like work. It's your actual job. Like, it's not like in school where you can, sit back and sort of, take your foot off the wheel, and like play around or anything. Like, this is your livelihood, basically. So there are real consequences if you don't meet those deadlines, and if you fail to deliver what you promised to the clients and whatnot. So definitely there are like stressful situations. And for me, like, how did I handle it? I would say that I would communicate with my team and let them know that, hey, like, there's like a lot going on my plate. Like, I just need to reprioritize my tasks. Like, is it okay if, this, I feel like this deadline is a bit too ambitious. Like, can we push this back a little bit further and whatnot? And yeah, I think, when you're in a tight situation where you feel like everything is going on a lot, like there's a lot going on at the same time, it's important to communicate with your team. And I think that's what I really appreciate working at Deloitte, is because the people that I work with are really, really great. they're very understanding, and they're like they will step in and help you out if you need help. So yeah, I think
All right.
for consulting, it's pretty consulting or audit, like it's pretty intense sometimes.
Yeah. So your experience and advices are very applicable in our daily life. And here's a very interesting question from our audience.
Yeah.
Khalid Fakri for Ilani. Does being a Muslima from a foreign country ever affect your job or how your coworkers view you?
That's a very interesting question. At least for me, I don't think so. I like to think that they can see me as this strong, independent, young
Oh, right.
Muslim woman. Really, because I feel like it's an obligation for me to, bring the best version of myself to work every day, because in the Philadelphia office, at least, I'm the only visibly Muslim woman there. And I think it's, whatever they perceive me as, I'm sure they have like this image in their head, right?
Yeah,
People always have stereotypes.
surely.
So
Yeah.
so I try to like bring my best self to work. I haven't had any bad experiences where I feel like people are treating me differently just because of how I look like. And alhamdulillah, like thank God, that hasn't happened or anything. And if anything, I think they are more supportive. Like they're very accommodating. For example, when I go to the client site, like I travel pretty often. Um, and I travel with my teammates, like my seniors and my managers and senior managers. And when I need to step out, from the meetings or whatever to pray, like they're very understanding and they are very accommodating. So yeah, I think at least I don't think so. Like not at the workplace, and I can only say this because honestly, like Deloitte is such a great company. Like it's very, very diverse. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why. And if ever I get like a vibe that maybe I don't like gel very well with someone, I try to be like just try to be a good human being and try to be courteous. Like you don't have to be friends with everyone, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But at a workplace, you have to be professional and all that. And I know for a fact that if anything bad happens, like I have the support system that I need at work, like to like people that I can go to address the situation if it ever happens. But I've been at Deloitte for about a year and a half now, and like alhamdulillah, there's been no problems at all.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting to know that they even like respect when you want to go and pray and everything.
Yeah, and like every so there's a Deloitte office at in almost all the big cities in the US, and I've been to quite a few, and they always have like a wellness room, where people can go in and just spend however much time that they need in order to meditate or pray or whatever. So they've created a very balanced environment at work. So
All right. So far, what has been the best experience that you have encountered with your job? If you can share more than one if you want.
uh, the best experience. Oh my God, this is a hard one.
There must be a lot, I know. Working with a good
I
company.
mean, there are really, really good ones and really challenging ones too. um, I would say it's not really one moment. I would say it's maybe the opportunity to travel and to be in a position where I can learn, because the company really values learning and development. So they have this learning center called Deloitte University in Texas, and it's a huge campus. And it's not a real university, just to clear that. but they send all the professionals there for any training and learning that you have to do. So yeah, I think for me that's one of the perks of working there. I don't know, I really enjoy learning and traveling. So yeah, and I guess I would also say the opportunity to meet really great leaders, because we have leaders on the national level, because they have national level, regional, and then the local offices leaders. So meeting those national leaders, and actually recently I met this really young female partner. I think she just went into her 40s, and she's a very senior partner, and partner is the highest position that you can go to, basically. And like being able to meet her in person and like ask her questions and learn more about her experience, it really opened up my mind. And to see someone like that, with family and children of her own, be so successful, I think it's something that I really appreciate and I value, because we need to see more women leaders. So,
yeah, I totally agree.
yeah. I appreciate that. I think that's probably one of the best things that
So the early during our session, you said that you undergone the co-op with Deloitte before this.
Yeah.
Was it at the same department as you are now?
Yeah, so it was in the same department, and actually that's how I was hired full time. So let me share a little bit like this piece of information with you. Most companies, when they hire interns, that is their main funnel of talent acquisition or recruitment. That's their probation period. Basically, they see how you fit and how you perform. And most of the time at big companies, if you get an internship, that's like basically your ticket to a full-time position. Because I did my co-op for 6 months, and then by the end of the 6 months, they offered me a full-time job for the same position. And with Deloitte specifically, I know that people, when they do their internship or their co-op in the Philly office, they can request to move to another office for their full time. So I have friends who moved to New York, moved to San Francisco. So it really opens up. Yeah, it's so crazy. It's really crazy how like generous they are, but they recognize that millennials, like people our age, like we appreciate all the options and all the different opportunities. So yes, to answer your question, it was the exact same role.
That is a very valuable piece of advice for me and surely for most of the students out there that are watching us. And we also have one question from our audience, Daniel Lukman. He would like to know the role of a risk consultant exactly and what is required of someone who is interested in the same position.
Can you repeat that question?
What is the role of a risk consultant exactly, and what is required? What is the requirement for someone who is interested in that position?
So the first part of the question is, what is the role of a risk consultant exactly? So I would say that the term technology risk consultant is a fancy term. The work that I actually do is IT auditing. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm considered an IT specialist, and I work very closely with the Deloitte financial audit team. And we help assess our clients' financial statements. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. So basically, I audit and I test general IT controls that are relevant for any underlying IT systems and applications that are critical to the financial statements that are reported by public companies. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to business managers like me.
Yeah. And I feel like this is one of those professions that people don't really know about.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I hope that answers the first part of his question.
Uh-huh.
And the second part is how, like, what is required of someone if they want to go into this role? Is that what he said?
Yeah, into that
Yeah,
position. Yeah.
yeah. I would say that it definitely helps if you know, if you have an IT background, like management information systems, um, and what is like business analytics is fine too. But yeah, anything related to IT, and also because Deloitte is a big four company, right? They started off as an accounting company, but then now it's like a full-fledged professional services firm. They still really appreciate when people have if they are a certified public accountant. So I think so. That's what CPA stands for. Yeah. So if you have accounting background, like that helps too, but it's not necessary. And I would say again, like I have to reiterate this. Technical skills, it's okay if you don't have them. It honestly doesn't really matter to these companies, because you will learn everything that you need to know about the job on the job. Like once you start, they will train you everything from scratch. So it's okay if you don't know anything. But I would say that, they do look for the soft skills, being organized, being able to juggle multiple projects at the same time, and being on top of things, and being able to deliver reports and work in a timely manner, and most importantly, being personable with your clients, because it is a client facing job, so you have to deal with so many different types of people, and clients can be very demanding, or they can be very, very nice to you, and it's usually like a hit or miss. Like you don't really have a say on who you deal with as with the client. So like soft skills are, I would say, more important than the technical skills in this case. Yeah.
In this case.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your best advice for the seniors in finance who don't have any internship experience but wish to seek a job in the States?
Okay, this is a tough question because if I'm being brutally honest, it's really, really hard to get a job
Really?
in the States.
I'm a
Yeah.
junior and I have no internship experience at all.
It's really like it's really hard to get a job if you don't have an internship experience. I mean, but it's not impossible. I'm saying that it's hard because they are very competitive. Because imagine this, like you are up against Americans, first of all, and other international students. So most companies, if you have gone through like the interview process and whatnot, you'll find it very common that they are hesitant to hire you just because they know that you're not able to stay here for a long time, because most students, they get 1 year of OPT, and if you are a STEM major, you get plus 2-year extension, right? And then if you want to stay here any longer than that, then you need to get an H-1B visa. And usually H-1B visas are sponsored by the company. And, for like for H-1B visa, it on average it would come up to at least $8,000 or to $10,000 per application per person. And there's no guarantee for the company that when they send that application to the USCIS that you will get selected and even approved, because now with the new administration, there's been a lot of delays and pushback from the immigration services for all the visa applications. So it's really, really hard without an internship experience, just because it's very competitive. So I would say, the best time to plan for your career is like in your freshman and sophomore year, because for most financial services companies and consulting companies, they will the heaviest recruiting season is in the fall. So let's say you're graduating next year in May or June 2019. Companies will recruit heaviest around this time, actually from earliest, I think July, August until like October, November. This is the like prime time for financial and consulting services companies to hire seniors, because they plan everything ahead, right? Um, so so yes, but I would say if there's still opportunity for you to get any type of like experience, and I mean this in the sense that, let's say there's a case competition in the university um, that you can join and you have the capacity to compete, I would definitely recommend that, because that's what I did when I wanted to build my resume when I was applying for my co-ops. So I like joined a Boeing business and engineering case competition. I signed up for that Dragon Fund class where I could be a financial analyst for 3 to 6 months, and just find like different avenues of gaining experience, even if you didn't have a summer internship per se. And if you can, I know like there's most universities, I think they have like work studies, right? Like you can work part-time while you're studying. If there's any opportunity to do that, I would also recommend, because some employers, it doesn't need to be relevant to the what is it, to the major that you're studying, but they want to see that if you have work experience, then they can see that you are responsible and you can manage your time well. So yeah, I think that's one of the ways that that you can compensate for that.
So what is your comment if like someone is having internship in Malaysia? Would they look at like the same as internship in Malaysia and the US? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
so you mean like if someone had an internship in Malaysia over the summer, and they came back to the US to study, and then they graduate, and then they
yeah.
want to apply for a job in the US? I
Would
think that counts. I
that
mean,
come?
it should count, right? Because I have friends that did their co-ops in Petronas in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think yeah, some of them did do their OPT here, so
Mm-hmm.
it should count. Yeah. And honestly, it's just how you tell your story, right?
Yeah.
If you're really good at conveying about, how that experience worked out for you and how it benefited you, and, how it, put you in a position where you really learned, and yeah. So I think it should be fine.
Should be fine.
Do you have like a work experience in Malaysia? Is that what?
No, not really, but like because I'm planning to go back every summer.
Mhm.
So I mean to get an internship here and not going back to Malaysia in summer is quite hard for me. So I
Mhm.
think, but if I can go back to Malaysia and do internship in Malaysia and just use that experience to apply jobs here, I think that would be a great idea too, right?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, if you get a chance to apply for an internship or any work experience here, like that should be like preferable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a good opportunity, at in Malaysia, like that definitely works too. And I just want to add this, over here, like even internship opportunities, they usually recruit a year before.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. Like if you go to Deloitte.com right now and look at all the career opportunities, even for internships, everything is for summer 2019. So yeah.
Okay.
Just a heads up for anyone who's not a senior right now. Yeah.
All right. So we have another question from our audience, Fatin Farzana. She said, since your first year in college, did you ever foresee that you're going to work in this field and this position specifically? And what motivate your path toward this job or this field?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, no, I did not envision myself in my first year to do, be in this role. And the way that it came about, it was it was actually, I honestly believe it's just like, part of your rizki. And I never like even planned to stay here after graduation. I actually really wanted to go back to Malaysia. I was like, okay, like in my senior year, I was like no, before my senior year, I spent a few weeks in Malaysia, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna I'm gonna go back to Philly and like finish my senior year and like get out of Philly and just settle in Malaysia, because yeah, I get really homesick and it's really hard for me to be away from my family. But when I started my senior year, I think like I decided to, during the co-op process, I basically the co-op process, when you look at the job opportunities, there are so many companies, and it just so happened at that time I saw the Deloitte position, and I was like, Deloitte, like that's a pretty good company, so I'm just gonna apply for this. And I sent my resume to them and whatnot, and I never expected them to accept my application, but they did. And then I went to the interview process, and I didn't think that I was going to get the job, but they gave it to me. And then when I was there for 6 months, I really didn't think that I would enjoy myself that much. Like I basically had no expectations.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be such a good experience. Like I really had such a good co-op, and I enjoyed it, and they liked me too, so they asked me to come back full time after I graduate. And at that time, it was a hard decision for me, because I was like, well, I really want to go back to Malaysia, but this is such a good opportunity, and I recognize that not everyone gets a chance to work. First of all, work in the U.S., and second of all, work at a company like Deloitte. And they, because they're a big company and they have access to a lot more resources, they can sponsor visas for all their international professionals. So I gave it a long thought, and I was like, okay, well, what do I have to lose? Like, it's just 1 year of OPT, and then if I like it, I can extend for my STEM extension for 2 years and whatnot. So I decided that, okay, I'm just gonna try it out. So yeah, I never planned for it, and I didn't think that I would be doing IT or as the start of my career. And I mean, I know that it's different from my majors, finance and business analytics. And even in my undergrad, like when I studied finance, I really enjoyed learning finance. But after gaining that experience of being a financial analyst, I decided that it's really not for me. So it was great. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, if you go to like investment banking or anything, like it's you can see it's like a certain type of people there. Like it's hardcore. Like it's very intense. They work like 11 hours, 12 hours a day. And the stories that I heard from other friends who were working in finance, it was like, my God, it was scary. So I was like, I'm not doing any finance. So yeah, it just, I would say it just kind of unfolded itself, and I thought that the opportunity came very easy for me, alhamdulillah. And I decided to take that opportunity because I really want to, gain as much experience as I can and learn. And my goal is to come back to Malaysia, inshallah, and, help my community. So, yeah.
Yeah. You make me remember what my friend said to me. He said that you never know what you like or you don't like until you try. So like he did an internship too, in like tax,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can't remember. And he said that, oh, I really don't like tax. So he moved to like other department for the next internship,
Yeah.
and like, oh, I don't like this too. Like he did 3 internship and he
Mm-hmm.
did not like any of it, and he
Yeah.
just discovered what he liked on his fourth internship. And I was like, oh, that is like a very good advice, because really we never know what we like and we
Mm-hmm.
don't like until we try it, right?
Yeah, it's true. I completely agree. And this is why it's so important for us to, be open to opportunities. And sometimes they, when opportunities come up, it might not be what you imagined it to be. But things happen. Things always happen for a reason. And I really admire your friend. He did 3 internships and he finally found something that he liked on his fourth try. So I
Uh-huh.
think that's really admirable, and yeah, that's good for him.
And also the other thing that I learned from him is like never give up, and it is never too late.
Yeah, definitely never too late. I mean, you hear about, people changing their careers after like
Yeah.
20 years or so.
Mhm.
Actually, it's so interesting. There's a restaurant in Philadelphia called Sate Kampar, and I was just there last week with my parents, and I met the owner of the restaurant,
Mhm.
and she's a Malaysian. She's from Kampar, Perak, and she shared with me that she was actually she worked at Deloitte Consulting in Malaysia many years ago
Uh-huh.
as a senior manager of like Asia Pacific, and then she came to the US, and she's been here for 18 years, and she was in the whole like consulting business and whatnot. Um, and then finally, she decided that she was done with consulting or like corporate, basically.
Uh-huh.
She, retired from corporate and she decided to open up a restaurant. Um,
Mm.
and
Oh,
yeah, that's like such a big career change, right? So
uh-huh.
it's like never too late.
It's never too late. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we know a lot of Malaysian students are pursuing a finance bachelor's degree here in the United States, including me. So, can you give like the best advice for all the students who wish to work with business analytic companies or consulting companies, or even just generally working here in the United States? Your best advice.
My best advice, so that's hard. um, um, I would say focus on definitely maintaining a good academic record because when you send in your resume, they do look at your GPA, but only for as a filter because that's how they identify students who are hardworking enough to keep up their GPA. Um, and at the same time, you don't need to go crazy and have a 4.0, but at the same time, like you should I would highly recommend being involved in like student organizations. And this is really easy, honestly. Like just pick something that you like. Like if you like any kind of sports or whatever, just be involved in that and try to push yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and put up your hand and be a leader. And I think when you have a leadership role, they companies really appreciate that. Um, and then, so those two things, be like maintain a good academic record and get involved with student organizations or volunteering. I think that's really important too.
Mhm.
Um, and then networking is really important. If you, I know in most universities they have, I think what are they called, like academic fraternities or sororities or something like that. Yeah. You get what I mean. I can't remember what they are. Yeah. So, they usually have events where they will invite, I think, like speakers from companies. Like those are just good opportunities to network, basically. And if you're looking for a job, like don't be afraid to cold email or send a message to anyone on LinkedIn. Like you have nothing to lose. So that's like another way to network. And what else?
Okay. Like, what are the things that you wish you did in Drexel but you didn't? And then like right now, oh, I wish I did that. Maybe.
I'm just trying to think. What did I wish that I did at Drexel?
Like the clubs, maybe like that you should join, but you didn't, and you regret.
I was like pretty involved in.
All right.
I don't. This is. I don't know what it says about me, but I don't think I would have done things any differently. Like well, maybe no. Like no. Yeah. I think. I
You
think
don't
I had
regret a
really.
single thing.
I
That's
think
good.
like I had a good experience at Drexel. Like people were great. I took. I this is what I did. I really enjoyed all my classes, and I went with all the professors that I really liked because they were good, and some of them were like really challenging. Like it's a tough professor, but if you go to their class, you learn a lot. So I did that, and I joined so many student organizations, and I made sure to after that was done, like I made sure to focus on my academics still, and like maintain my grades and whatnot. And it was hard for me to network. I am an introvert by nature, so it took me a really long time to get out of my shell and get used to talking to people. But
But you
yeah,
did it anyway.
yeah, I did it anyway because it really is in the American culture. Like
Yeah.
you know, when I first started at Deloitte, like they really like hammered on that. They were like, you should really build your network because that's just how things are in the US. It's you never know who knows who.
Yeah.
So if anything, I would have done differently. Maybe I would have started that earlier. And I wish I had maybe planned things out in advance. Like I really didn't think about like what I would do after graduation until maybe my third year, which was pretty late actually. Like if you talk to like like a well prepared American, like from freshman year, they already knew all the classes that we're going to take for the next 4 to 5 years. Like they knew exactly what kind of internships they wanted to aim for, and they knew how to get involved, and they knew how to build their resume and how to network and really practice their public speaking skills and presentation skills. So I guess if there was one thing that I would have done differently was to plan things much, much earlier on. Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah. You have anything else to say?
No, no.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Ilani. And that is all the time we have for tonight's webinar. And thank you so much for your time. I'm very sure that everyone who just watched this webinar has a better understanding about Deloitte now, as well as the working field of finance and business analytics as Malaysian student here on OPT. If you have any further question for Ilani, you can reach her by her email a.ilani.zin deloitte@gmail.com. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. We will also be sharing her email through our Facebook event page, so feel free to get in touch with her. And plus, if you want to know more about Deloitte, you can also go and check on their website at www.deloitte.com/us/en.html. Ilani, do you have anything else to add? Last?
No, I just wanted to thank you so much, Zafira, for
Thank you
tonight.
so much, Ilani.
Yeah, no, this was fun, and I really really hope that I answered all of your questions
Yeah, sure.
clearly. And if anyone else is watching this and they want to follow up with more questions, or they have, they want to have like a one-on-one conversation, like feel free to reach out to me. And if you are in the process of applying for jobs or internships and you want someone else to take a look at your resume or maybe help you prepare for interviews, like I'm more than happy to help. I really enjoy doing that, helping people. So yeah, thank you so much, and I hope this is helpful.
Thank you so much. So to anyone who did not get the chance to watch this whole webinar, we will be posting the recorded video on YouTube. So check on that. Make sure you check on that. And please email us or leave comments on what you thought about this webinar so that we'll be able to organize a better one next time. And the link to our feedback form is posted on the video description below and also in the Facebook event page. We would really appreciate if you could spend a minute or two to fill it. And thank you so much and to Ilani, and thank you everyone for tuning in, and have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye bye.